You're watching my favorite YouTube channel. This week in Star Wars, it was revealed out of Variety and confirmed because Variety is so legit that some of these movies, like the Kevin Feige one that Michael Waldron was supposed to write, that's not happening anymore. That's not in active development. Even the Patty Jenkins one is not in active development. I'd like to imagine, I would like to hope that there's still something out of that Patty Jenkins movie that can, be come to fruition. Maybe they change the time of it or whatever. I wanted to see that movie really badly. I liked it, and I know her heart was in it, so I would have loved to see that. But the Kevin Feige one, even though we're just hearing about it now, Michael Waldron was penned to write Avengers: Secret Wars, and we heard about that one a few months ago. Well, if that's the case, don't you think that they probably knew back then that this wouldn't be happening over at Star Wars, and now Lucasfilm is revealing that it's not going to come to fruition? I think I'm confident, certain that when Dave Filoni got that promotion that they never talked about and no one advertised, and by the time it was found out, it was like he's been the chief creative officer for 10 months now or something. We just updated the website now, and that's what all the fans found out. When that moment happened, everything was canceled. Lando and Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron and Kevin Feige's movie that was announced that he even confirmed about when they were on red carpet for like Multiverse of Madness or one of those shows. He talked about it like it was really going to happen from his own mouth. The Taika Waititi thing might even be gone also. But they don't say it's gone. Okay, does Taika have a relationship with Jon Favreau? Yes. None of the other guys do. Because Taika directed the first episode of Mandalorian. In the final episode of Mandalorian, he directed. Then, he didn't do the first, actually. That was... Let me shut up. I don't know who did the first, but I know he was in IG-11 and he voice acted there. Taika Waititi has a relationship with Favreau, so that's probably why it's still Filoni. That's why it's still in place. Dave Filoni has everything to do with it. Let's not ever imagine that the way that this was revealed on Variety, let's not ever think that they got the scoop. It was just time for that information to be told. But the way Bob Iger thinks about movies and the way that Lucasfilm thinks about movies, I agree with Star Wars Theory, who says stuff like this, that the Solo problem wasn't really a problem. It had more to do with like The Last Jedi just happened. It was divisive, low interest in Star Wars, low morale. That was the movie that kind of got the unfair shake of the stick. I'm a guy who didn't want to see Solo. It's not because of the deepfake technology would have been better than actually getting a recast of Alden Ehrenreich. I just didn't have an interest in seeing Han Solo because the Han Solo story arc and character and everything is pretty complete. If they were to recast, and I don't wish Harrison Ford had died prior to 2015 when Force Awakens happened, but if they were to recast, I'd go, yeah, this is important. We do need to see Han Solo get a new actor in here. But when you recast so that you can go back in time, that's just different. I knew I was gonna have a hard time kind of accepting Han Solo. I'm someone who just didn't want to see a Han Solo movie. There was no reason for it. It didn't move things forward, and like everything with Lucasfilm, in before Dave Filoni's promotion, nothing was planned out. They're just doing solo outings and hoping things mesh. It's just now, thanks to his boy Freddie Prinze Jr., who voiced Rebels Kanan. Thanks to him, we know that Dave Filoni is the guy who directed the coolest scene in Rogue One, which connected all the way into the first Star Wars movie from '77, New Hope, or Star Wars. Dave Filoni's been the only guy linking things story-wise. And just because Lucasfilm is dropping these movies, not dropping, I should say they're canceling out movies, and that's being told to us now, we're hearing about it, those things already happened. They should have just said it all in one. It's just like James Gunn. They should have just said all in one, everything's canceled. But the way James Gunn goes is, well, okay, we're not going to do... Aquaman and Jason Momoa's gone, and then the revelation that Superman is gone, and then he does the Batman's going to be gone after Matt Reeves, and he's going to let you know everything is canceling one at a time, where you should have just said everything's gone. Don't let people think that Shazam will continue, think that The Flash will continue, just to break their hearts. Lucasfilm and DC, they're doing the same thing, where piece by piece they'll tell you something's being canceling. You could just have one announcement, I think. and then you get one media hate fest online rather than 7 in a row of like, oh, they canceled that, oh, they canceled that, oh, they canceled that. Just Dave Filoni should have just said everything's being restructured. Maybe they're waiting for the Kathleen Kennedy contract to finish, which has been something that we as fans have always been talking about. Every time that contract gets renewed, it's crazy. I think I've been through this 2 times where I'm like, well, it's a 3-year contract. Oh, well, it's coming up now. Oh, now they're going to get rid of him. It didn't happen. Oh, well, now they'll get rid of her, and it still didn't happen. And now the next thing is at Celebration London, they're supposed to get rid of her, and that'll be her final kind of goodbye. When it happens, it happens. And even if it doesn't happen, it does feel like she doesn't have the control or the reins over anything. All Star Wars projects from 2025 and forward will be Dave Filoni ran. It's already like that now, with the exception of the Andor show, which they're filming now. They committed to during the Kennedy era. Also, I'll call it. The Andor run is probably the only thing that's not Filoni started. We're done with Kenobi. They're not getting a season 2 of Kenobi, and if it does, maybe Dave Filoni will be a part of it. And it'll be better than the first season because Dave Filoni, the continuity thing. That darn old continuity thing. But Dave Filoni right now is running Lucasfilm. Or everything is going through him at least, whether he's running it or not. Whoever the hell the producer is when the credits scroll kind of doesn't matter to me. It's more so who's creatively in charge of making these decisions. David Filoni, Jonathan Favreau, those 2 human beings are kind of my guys. I love Dave Filoni. Every time I listen to Dave Filoni talk, I get excited. There was one thing that he said that I'll show you just before I leave you. He's talking about vibro blades and why they chose to do a dark saber. And he's like, no, George didn't want lightsabers to have any kind of competition as far as weapon-wise. He revealed this, and he probably wasn't thinking about what he just admitted to and what he just did to the Last Jedi fight scene in the throne room. But this is what he said. Listen.
The Darksaber is something that George Lucas created way back when we were working on Clone Wars together. We had John's character, John's character, Pre Vizsla, who was a Mandalorian, was fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi and had what we would call a vibroblade, a different kind of sword fighting a lightsaber. And George thought about that and said, no, we shouldn't have another sword that can compete with a lightsaber. So he invented the Darksaber, something that was unique in Star Wars, something that had been created long ago.
And that brings us to this scene here where they're fighting in slow motion. Then we go back to regular speed. And they're competing against the blades that are not lightsabers. This is not the George Lucas way. This is what Filoni would have not done had he had any, role in these crappy films that they called the sequel trilogy. That's just the truth. And that's how that played out. Dave Filoni's our guy. Our guy. Us fans, we believe in this franchise. We love it. And Dave Filoni's got us. And if he's going to be a part of this Lindelof film, which is, according to people who I trust, Jason Ward, this movie is going to be legit. This one's actually coming to fruition. And Lindelof is the guy who made a show I love called Lost. Everyone loves him for Watchmen. So that's 2 sort of science fiction-y genre stuff that he's been able to do, which is acclaimed. He's sort of the guy. I know J.J. Abrams was from Lost, but remember, the problem was not necessarily J.J. Abrams. It was planning. It was a discontinuity. That's my problem, at least. Star Wars, start your movies. There's no problem with more movies. Quantity of movies isn't your issue right now because we haven't had one since 2019. And if they would have took a year off and we didn't get one in 2020, but we got a movie in 21, right? If that was the case, then yeah, they took a break. A year is a long time, but it doesn't look like we got one we're going to get it in 22, 23, 24, maybe Christmas time. There's no Avatar movie coming out of the studio. So maybe in 2024, if there's no Spider-Man movie, this will be the December late, because that's a very big time for movies. Maybe that's what it'll be. That'll be a perfect time. That's the way that they did with the other 3 sequel movies, as well as Rogue One also got that December release. Good time to have a Star Wars movie. It's been proven so. $4 billion hitters. Do you think that there's something about the Star Wars movie relationship that I'm not mentioning? Let me know. Do you disagree with what I said about Han Solo's movie? Well, they casted a guy who was a lot younger and said this is how it actually happened. Do you feel like something happened lore-wise that I'm missing? Because I saw the Pikes in Book of Boba Fett, and I was good. I never said, oh, I guess I got to check out these people. No, I'm satisfied with the Pikes from Clone Wars and their appearances. I didn't need that. I don't think that movie was relevant. And yes, it's all Star Wars. It's all one timeline. So if it happened in the Solo movie, it did happen. Likewise, with the sequels, as much as I dislike them, they happened 30 years after, 30, 40 years after Luke Skywalker in the first movie. This happens too. It just so happens that somehow Palpatine has returned. They don't need to make sense of it. That's not the job of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and what they're doing in this time period, which is like 6-7 years after Jedi. This time period where Ahsoka is going to cross over with the crew, skeleton crew. Let's just tell stories in here. You guys want to get an animated series to feature? Yeah, let's go, bro. And then let's cast these characters who are in video games in the movies, in the live action. Omega? Let's get Omega. I got my theories on why. You guys have heard me in the live streams talking about Trans Omega, and every single time I bring it up, it's always disagreed. No one agrees with me. I'm like, watch, you'll see. So it was a clone with a male host, and it was modified. Sure, it had its modifications. Omega had modifications, but I mean that's something that you really can't change. I don't think. That is science fiction, though. I just feel like if they do kind of like commit to this, you don't get any points or awareness or advocacy kind of activism. It's not. It wouldn't count as activism or inclusion normalization. It wouldn't be that if you don't say it and tell us about Omega being trans until like the show has done its run. If you're really about that, Lucasfilm, you got to be like, yo, listen, this is Omega. First episode, tell the whole audience and then see what happens. But they are being chicken about it. We all saw what happened with Arthur after Mr. Ratburn revealed that he's going to have a wedding with a male. Families were like, yo, kids, don't watch that stuff over here. And so they know that this could turn off customers who are going to buy merchandising, viewers, and they just don't want to get the ramifications, the negative ones at least. So they're not going to tell you that Omega, the character, Omega, New Zealand voice actress and all, sister of Boba Fett, twin, they're not going to reveal that biologically Omega's male. Until like the show is done, they're done making their money. That's when they'll do it. That's my Omega theory, which I've mentioned before. Mandalorian live stream Saturday, 1 p.m. I've been chill, and usually when I do end a video, I would like to sit here and kick a freestyle. That's kind of been the thing. I've been going on and on this flow that I try to put on. Sometimes I'm good, but I'm usually bad. Usually, it's kind of hard actually, and it makes me look kind of sad because I can't do it so naturally. I'm not that talented. If you want to see me be successful in something, it ain't battling. One-on-one, I could never get it done. But in a group format, depending on who I have on, I could challenge anyone to go toes and go for blows. I got no clothes.